How do you help teams who are focused on connectivity, uh,
Hmm.
team, and are they connected? Who are focused on, am I a friend? And who are focused on, when I come to work, I come in prepared to help my teammates be successful.
So
How do
I'm
you?
glad you asked because
Welcome to another episode of Reframe for Resilience. Our guest today is Miss Morag Barrett. She is the founder and CEO of SkyeTeam. This is an international firm based on leadership and development. She's a leadership expert. She's also author and co-author of a number of books. One of them I really like. It says, You, Me, We, Why We Need a Friend in the Workplace. And I'm sure I will be asking her why we need a friend in the workplace. Welcome, Miss Barrett.
hello, Dr. Frank. I'm really looking forward to our conversation and honored that you enjoyed You, Me, We.
Yes, I very much enjoyed it. And in fact, I'll start off by asking you to tell us what was it in your journey that led you to focus on relationships in the workplace?
I think it was the mistakes I made early in my career, which when you're early in your career, you perhaps don't realize that they were mistakes until you get the benefit of hindsight. But as I reflect back to my early career, which was in finance in the UK, I was very much focused on independence. My boss could give me a task to do, a project to execute, and I would go off and do it on my own. And what I've come to realize through that finance career, lending millions of pounds to all sorts of leaders and different companies in different industries, is that success in business is all about our relationships, the interdependence, not independence, and that success in life is about connection. And both of those are about the relationships that we build both in the workplace and with our colleagues outside of those office hours.
So tell me, what's the difference between connection and relationships in the workplace? Because as a matter of fact, I was going to ask the question as to whether being a friend in the workplace was different from being a friend outside of work.
Ooh, so
You
many
use
layers.
two different terms. You use connection
Yep.
and relationships. What are the differences, or are there any?
Well, I think there are, and I think that's the challenge that most of us have is that we don't think about what does this mean. And so I do believe that it is possible to have a connection. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, but we don't necessarily have a relationship that goes with that. And when I talk about connection, I'm also looking at it through three lenses: connection to myself and my own needs, connection to you and the team, and how are we better together, and then connection to the work. And again, as I reflect on my early career, that connection to the work and the task at hand, and that connection to the immediate team, often is what gets the spotlight at work. The are you delivering your results in what we do and how we organize? And when we neglect the who I am, the connection with myself, and if we neglect the how we relate, that's when you start to see the politics silos and turf wars happening within teams and across organizations, but also the increase in stress, anxiety, loneliness, disengagement that can happen with me as an individual, with everybody else who is working in that same organization.
Many times we talk about it, about inclusion, belonging, etc. Is this the same when you think about connection in the team?
I
Because you
think it's
also
part and
mentioned about
parcel.
engagement.
Yes, so they're all connected. If loneliness is the emotion, then the behavior that we might experience is disconnection. where I'm sitting back, I'm doing just enough. I'm thinking, ooh, Dr. Frank, that'll never work, but maybe not articulating my concerns. And therefore, the impact in the business is lower engagement or inefficiency, ultimately impacting the bottom line. And when you called out my second book, You, Me, We, Why We All Need a Friend at Work and How to Show Up as One, I actually wrote this with my best friends at work, Eric Spencer and Ruby Vesely. And the reason we use the word friend here is based on more than 20 years of research by the Gallup organization. Many of your listeners will be aware they've been researching what builds a high performing team for many years. And one of their core questions, question 10 of the 12 that they ask, is, do I have a best friend at work? And they have data to support the fact that when we can say yes or strongly agree to that, we are, as a team and an organization, more productive, more successful, and thriving individually in our careers. However, in You, Me, we reframed that question because do I have a best friend at work? It's in my mind passive. It allows me to sit back and say, well, no, because Dr. Frank got the best project, Dr. Frank got the promotion. Instead, in You, Me, we reframe it as, am I a friend at work, not just to my colleagues, but also am I a friend at work to myself? Am I able to articulate my needs? Do I set those guardrails so that I'm not just saying yes to everybody else, but I'm also making sure that I'm saying yes to myself?
As you know, my big focus is on reframe, and so I loved that you reframed, from do I have a friend to am I a friend?
Mm-hmm.
And so this mindset shift which you talk about, how how have you experienced that as you have coached various teams?
Well, we've
How
had
have you
the opportunity to work with more than 15,000 leaders from 20 countries all around the world, different industries. And as a result of that work, we designed what we call the Ally Mindset Profile. And in fact, everybody who is listening or watching this episode is invited to complete their complimentary profile and help contribute to our ongoing research. And you can do that at SkyeTeam, SKYE team.cloud/you, me, we. And when you do that, you'll discover the insights from our research, the 5 practices that make for an ally mindset for being and having a friend at work. So there are 5 practices that we've identified, the foundation of which is abundance and generosity. Do I care about your success as much as I do my own? Am I curious about your life journey and how we can work together? Because when I can do that, then we can move to connection and compassion, which is getting to know your story beyond the job title that you may have today, understand what lights you up and what might be draining you, what's happening in your whole life that is impacting how we show up at work today. And once we have that connection and compassion, that's when we start to get the psychological safety, the brave spaces, the real conversation that allow for courage and vulnerability, for me to ask for help when I need it and to accept it when it's offered, for me to ask the questions when I don't understand, or maybe to challenge. And that leads to candor and debate, which means we're having those powerful conversations at a time when we can actually do something about it versus after the event when things may not have gone ideally or how we aspired. And then the 5th capstone, the most important of them all, is action and accountability. Because in my own work with my own coach, in my work with leaders, much of the work that we do, it's not rocket science. And I know because I've worked with rocket scientists on this topic. But in the heat of the day, we forget, we make excuses, and we don't follow through in what we know we should do to not only make sure that I am contributing at my best today, but that I am also creating an environment that allows and enables others to contribute at their best too.
So, final question. How do you help teams who are focused on connectivity
Hmm.
team, and are they connected? Who are focused on, am I a friend? And who are focused on, when I come to work, I come in prepared to help my teammates be successful.
So
How do
I'm
you
glad you
that?
asked,
Yes.
because that goes with my first book, Cultivate the Power of Winning Relationships. And the two go hand in hand, dust jacket in dust jacket, because Cultivate provides the strategy, and the outline for the relationship dynamics that we may be experiencing as a team. And I call out four relationship dynamics: the ally, the best friend at work, the person who has your back, but who will also give you the tough feedback when you need it, and the kick in the pants when required. You then have supporters who are fair weather friends, fun to work with, but when the going gets tough, radio silence. And then as we move round to the dark side, we have rivals, where when it suits their agenda, all for us, and when it doesn't, they're against us. And that uncertainty can undermine self confidence and undermine the results we're trying to achieve. And then finally, the fourth dynamic, adversaries, which touches on the toxic boss or the toxic colleague that you mentioned earlier. But once we have that landscape, when we're thinking about the team dynamic, that's when you, me, we comes in terms of, well, how do we show up around this table aligned on what success looks like and our individual roles and responsibilities in making that happen? And one of the first things that we can do is to start to share our stories, a little bit of how and who helped me to get to where I am today, and what fills me up and what drains me. Because when we start to share those journeys, when we find those points of connection, whether it's the same university that we went to school to, or maybe it's the last vacation destination that we went to, and that we can connect over that, it helps us to then connect when it comes to the how we're going to work, how we're going to relate, and more importantly, how we're going to overcome obstacles when they invariably hit.
And final question, does the sharing of these stories help to build resilience in the team?
It does. I have seen that transformation, especially if we're feeling lonely, disconnected, or in my case, as I know I have done, feeling like we have to wear the professional mask of perfectionism all the time, because that is stressful. And so when we can start to share our stories, that comes to connection and compassion, it allows us to then have the courage and vulnerability to say, I might need a little bit of extra help today. Something has happened. I'm either unsure about what's being asked, maybe something has happened in my personal life, and therefore we have some more give and take. Because if I need your help this week, Dr. Frank, I can guarantee that next week or next month, those tables will return, and I will be helping and supporting you as you navigate one of those hiccups that happen to all of us.